Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. If you clicked on this video, it's because we said everything's changing.
And that's not an understatement at all.
This is probably the biggest channel update we've
ever done.
Ever had. I mean, we've had notable channel updates. We've had some significant moments over the last 2 years, but I would say out of everything,
this is the biggest one.
from the moment I met you, it's all been leading up to this.
To this moment right now.
The past year's been incredibly difficult.
Yes.
And
yes,
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about changes coming here to the channel, and we're going to talk about the fact that Jan and I,
What?
we're now roommates.
yes, we are.
I moved out of Kentucky. Jan moved out of Washington, D.C. We just moved to Fredrick, Maryland.
Yes.
And as of about a week ago,
We're making the dream come true.
Yeah.
With everything we got.
Locked in all of this, got into a position where we could make this legitimately possible as of maybe a month and a half ago, and we moved as quickly and efficiently as we could. It's one of the reasons why the channel's been a little bit disrupted, and it's one of the reasons why you're going to see so much Jan moving forward. So if those of you that are here like the goose, congratulations.
Honk. Honk for the goose mother.
We have a lot of things we want to go over in this video. From
Yes, we do.
why we're making this shift, to what we're putting on the line in order to do so, to what it means for the channel, the goals that we have, the, I suppose, corporate statement that you and I have divined over the last
that
6
doesn't
months
sound
or so.
right. Yes.
We have a lot of stuff we want to talk to you about. There's a lot of stuff here on the channel that's changing. There's a lot of stuff that's very important to go over. And along with that, for those of you that want to duck out of this video early, just so you know, this is going to be a hard and a direct push for your support.
Yep.
Over on Patreon. I'm going to be honest, this is the first time, other than when we launched the Patreon due to the start of the pandemic, this is the first time we've made a direct ask other than offhanded mentions. And we're doing this for a very specific reason. If you enjoy our content, if you've benefited from it, from your purchasing habits to backing things and not backing things, to just enjoying spending time with us in front of the camera producing content, we've extended a bit of a risk.
A bit of a risk is an understatement.
We have an apartment together. We've both moved out of other stable situations.
Yep.
You've renegotiated some of the terms at your job in order to make this possible. And we're pursuing this. We're doubling down. We're saying we intended to be here for 5 to 8 years when we first started. We're 2 years into this journey, and we're kind of hitting the trigger button.
Yeah.
For this to be a reality, we need your support.
This is the make it or break it.
And here's the reality of this. We have a lot of support over on Patreon right now. We would not have even came close to making this choice or this decision or making this possible if it wasn't for the 290 individuals already over there who have shown us support across this entire journey, who've believed in us from the very beginning and have continued investing and making this channel what it is, even through times that have been incredibly difficult, not only for us, but for the community at large.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. You've made this possible. But for the next step, this is a direct ask to you. We're going to go through the levels and what we're giving you in advance. I believe in added value.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking you to support us on Patreon, we're going to make it worth every penny that you give.
You're going to get something back. Literally.
100%. And we'll go through that in this video. But above and beyond all of that, if you enjoy the content we make here, you're our stability.
Yeah.
Contracts can leave.
Yep.
Working with publishers can shift and churn as industry changes. My career literally stopped last year as a photographer and videographer. For this to be a thing, we're asking for you to say that you want us here.
It's. I remember the first time that we started this, Jesse. I remember talking.
Well, I've been going for 6 months.
Yeah. Sure. But let's be honest. The moment that the channel really broke through.
When we met. Yeah, that's fair.
No, but I know that we've been talking for the longest time about that kind of aspiring objective at the end of the tunnel, which was, let's both go full-time into this.
Let's get there.
And it became a dream of mine. It became a dream of yours too.
Sure.
We never expected last year that dream just became a reality because of happenstance.
I was forced into it. Last year was hard. I mean, I don't know the experience. I know the experience that you've had in some ways. I mean, we've both been through, and the world's been through a journey over the last year. But like I was desperate to move in with you. I made every attempt and offer I could over the last 3 or 4 months in order to have you talk with your company and figure out a way to make this possible. Because like, I'll be honest with you, the audience, I've been lonely, depressed, feeling like I'm drowning, overwhelmed, felt very, very downtrodden when it comes to the experience of board games. And I am sure this community shares that, because we have launched a Discord community that is 3,500 members strong, with people in there that reach out all the time telling me that it's helped them get through this last year. And here's what I say to them. That community exists because I needed it so desperately bad. You know, that's
people don't get to see that side of you almost ever.
No, and
there's been very brief instances of that.
Do you know how excited I am right now to like? We've been living in this place for a week. We've filmed 6 or 7 videos together. We've played multiple games already. This opens the door not only for what we can do with the channel, it genuinely makes me feel like the channel's going to continue. You know, it's not that we ever thought about quitting. There has been an overarching question of like, how long can Jesse sustain?
Yeah.
Like, that's a real...
You can't do this all by yourself.
You know,
there's no way. And that has been the most prevalent thing that we've seen, you know, that the idea of support, of camaraderie, of having a number 2 there that could assist you in these difficult times.
You've been my partner since a year and a half ago.
But that distance created a huge barrier against our collaboration, right? And us making this choice of kind of merging our livelihoods together in order to forge a future together. A future...
It's exciting.
To you, to the audience, to the people that are right here, right now, watching this video that haven't clicked out because, they're just going to push for Patreon. No, they're invested in what we're trying to say.
We believe that what we're doing in this space is doing some important things.
Yep, 100%.
We believe we're bringing joy and entertainment to people. We believe we're opening the doors to a community that I found refuge and home in. Yeah. Something that I can, you know, and you feel the same way in a lot of ways.
We went through that in the interviews that we did.
We believe that we are building a community that is opening and welcoming and diverse and is inviting people from all over the world with different thoughts and ideas and to the table. And that matters. That matters for our space. It matters for our community. You know, what I hope to do over the next 3 to 5 years is build an arsenal of people that we've been able to collaborate with, work with, build community around, so that when we're at 100,000 or 200,000 YouTube subscribers, we've got 20 people right behind us that have been our friends the entire way up. I really believe our space can grow, and is. I really believe in community. I really believe in having as many diverse voices as we can get. And that's what we're fighting for.
And so, Jesse, us moving in together, how does that help us move closer to that goal?
You switched it into an interview, which is interesting.
I try to keep it spicy and fresh all the time.
Well, let's talk about why we're moving in together to start with. We've been over the fact that you know, last March, you can watch the video. It's still up on YouTube. I don't remember what it was titled exactly, but it was filmed. It was filmed the evening of my studio breakdown. You can see it on my face.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The studio was going away, and I was moving back to my parents' house. For the past year, I have been very lucky to be able to move back in with my dad and my stepmom. I have had a nice bedroom that I've filmed everything in. That's been awesome, but it wasn't sustainable. Yeah. And moving into the course of this next year, kind of from the very beginning, my dad and I had a conversation about how long it was appropriate for me to be home. And April was sort of the deadline. So I was approaching that. My options and realistic thought process was one of 2 things. Jan, if there's a way for us to do this together, I'll do anything I can to make that possible. Or I want to hit the road in a responsible fashion, in depending on the state of the world, in whatever way I have to make sure I keep everyone around me safe. But I was probably just going to go live out of my car for a few months, if not more. We still plan to travel. We still plan to cover content with a variety of people. I still plan to hit the road, but I'll do so from a base of operations. And we'll do so when it is the right time, both for us as a partnership and the world and larger context of things.
Yeah, we always want to keep safety the priority, but us moving in together is going to allow us to not only produce content that we've never been able to produce before, but it's going to help us alleviate the loads that you have had to carry on your shoulders by yourself for all this time. Us living together means that we can produce practically double the content with less of the intensity.
Because it's fun.
Exactly.
I like hanging out with you. Can you believe it?
I don't know if I can say the same thing.
I didn't say you liked hanging out with me. I said I
cool.
like hanging out with you.
Okay.
We can share the load when it comes to learning, when it comes to playing, when it comes to filming. We can sit down in front of the camera and have a conversation. And I do much better when I just have friends to do that with.
I miss playing board games so much.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I haven't been able to do that forever.
We're going to actually be able to do that. So, that being said, we've talked a little bit about why we moved. Let's talk about the future of the channel. And then we're going to go into our Patreon levels, and then we're going to wrap up this video and do probably a live stream this evening.
Yeah.
So if you want to come hang out with us and ask specific questions, we're going to make that possible as well. Us. Let's talk about...
Let's talk about us.
No. We already talked about us. Let's talk about...
everything that's coming to the channel.
Something you're doing specifically.
Bueno, para aquellos que hablan español, Quackalope va a empezar su propio canal titulado Qüackalope, con un acento en la O. For those of you that did not understand Spanish, we are launching a Spanish channel with a Puerto Rican on the head.
You're going to be the host of your own side of this conversation.
Yep.
Here's the weird thing. The Spanish marketplace isn't massive at the moment.
No, not
They
at all.
have problems with logistics, accessibility, distribution. There's a lot of stuff we can't control. But Jan's from Puerto Rico. I mean, 26 years of your life from Puerto Rico. I mean, born and raised.
Yeah, yes. For those, yes, I'm puertorriqueño, boricua, pura cepa, pa que tú lo sepa,
and so,
all day of the week.
And so part of the conversation you and I have had internally for the past year has been where and how is it appropriate to bridge that type of content onto Quackalope. We have a predominantly English-speaking, we have a solely English-speaking audience for the most part. And it's weird to create a channel that starts introducing a brand new language into it in the middle of that conversation.
Yep, correct.
So our solution is Quackalope. It is a secondary network and channel built in collaboration with this, where the role that I play is hosted by you.
Yeah, I kind of switched.
And over the course of time, our hope is to build both of these channels up equally. If we're putting out a coverage of a Kickstarter or how to play or filming something together,
It's going to be on both.
we're going to be able to have access and do it for both, opening up the marketplace to other audiences.
Yep.
Along with that, one of the things that I've sort of came to realize, we can't fix distribution, logistics, anything like that. But guess what we can do?
We can make board gaming more accessible to an international market.
Not only by displaying you as a figurehead and us promoting you from kind of the platform that we have. We have 23,000 subscribers. That's not a nothing channel.
No,
But
not at all.
along with that, if a game's language independent, after you get through the rule book and there's not a Spanish translation of it, a single quality how to play video opens up that title to anyone who lives in the States with a bilingual family, anyone in South America.
Yeah, and let me expand on this a little bit, because the Spanish channel is not just me wanting to open a Spanish channel because I want my own channel.
Sure.
Us starting Quackalope is an answer to the biggest problem I had back home. Starting Quackalope is my response to feeling absolutely lonely and unheard back in Puerto Rico.
Sure.
And what I suspect that a lot of Latin Americans across the world sometimes feel when there aren't communities that are built around these weird niches that just don't seem to travel as well over the seas. In Puerto Rico, I was always kind of like the black sheep in a certain degree in terms of my hobbies, in terms of my interests. I was a geek. I liked comic books. I liked video games. I liked anime. I liked all these things. And eventually, I loved board games, but there wasn't a place at all for me to share that. I had to slowly bring in my friends into this hobby that I was introduced to so that I could play games. And nobody knew what I was talking about. Nobody understood what games were. Like they like, just like sometimes it happens here in the States, like Monopoly, Life, oh, these get like, you play that all the time. No. I didn't have somewhere I could go because people didn't know that this was there. They didn't know that this was an option beyond going out to party, going out drinking, playing sports, just like going to the beach. There is another option. And unfortunately for me, all of those other options, they just weren't things that I wanted to do.
Sure.
So me starting Qüackalope is my way of trying to find that kid, that other Jan that's
hand.
right now out there in Puerto Rico, in Colombia, en Cuba, en Brasil, en Chile, en donde sea que ellos estén, and saying, hey, buddy, hey, I'm right here and I love this thing that you found.
Yeah.
And maybe not even that. Maybe it's a kid that doesn't even know that this is an option and they just feel completely outcast and left out.
It's a newer hobby. It's growing.
And suddenly they have somewhere that they can go to and they don't have to feel completely uninvited because there's not someone that can talk their language.
Yep.
There's not someone there that could represent the joy and the feelings and the culture that is prevalent in Latin America because it's incredibly different to what you see in American content and in American coverage. And that's what I want to try and bring. I want to try and bring that energy, that welcomeness, that liveliness that Latin Americans expect, or at least that I expect from my friends and my family. And above all, be able to finally bridge that gap. And I'm not saying that there are not channels out there.
That's one thing I was actually gonna bring up. We've not only in the past highlighted an incredible channel and reached out to them, but as we build this isn't us saying that channels that speak Spanish don't exist.
No, not at all.
There's a lot of them. But here's the reality of it. Doesn't hurt to have more. And Correct. It doesn't hurt to have something like what we've built as a community around Quackalope leveraged against something like that.
And here's the crazy thing.
And we'll be collaborating with as many as possible.
Yeah, that leverage is what makes this particularly special because as you said, there are certain limitations and certain expectations from Latin America that a lot of the publishers don't look at. They don't prioritize. They believe that there isn't an audience there for their game.
Sure.
So when content creators reach out to them, they might not get priority treatment. However, because we're Quackalope, that means that any game that is being eyed for Quackalope is also eyed for Quackalope. Which means that everyone's invited to every single game and every campaign too.
So as long as you're paying attention, keep this in mind. We'll have a link down below to the blank YouTube page, Quackalope. It's a little sad to not have much on it at the moment, but here's the thing. We're strategizing right now. We've began the conversation. We want to get a stockpile of content prepared and a few series of content ready to go. So if you're interested and excited, you can hit the subscribe button to be ready for the announcement video, probably coming in a few weeks. But if you want to hold off for a second, here on Quackalope, we're going to be promoting it. Trust me. We're going to populate probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of content there so that there's a living space. And then we're going hardcore.
And speaking of going hardcore, I think it's important that people that hablan español y que están curiosos, ¿qué caramba ellos van a estar cubriendo en español? Pues mira, te tengo una contestación. What we're going to be doing, right? Like what's going to be on that channel? What's going to be happening? We're still planning 100%. And we're 100% open to listening to every single voice out there that has an opinion, right? I want to hear from my Latin American friends and from every person that feels like this is something that could be of value. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what you think should be on this channel. But we do have some ideas around that. One of the first ideas that we want to do is that games that are universal is something that we definitely want to cover, which is the how to play,
opening it up to a wider market so that there's just quality produced content and more produced content around board games in general. Another concept that we have is, well, I don't speak Spanish. My mom was entirely fluent, and my middle name was actually given to me so that when we visited South America, we'd be able to use Samuel instead of Jesse. But life happened, and my mother passed away early on, which means I never really developed a Spanish tongue. that's something that I really wish I had, and I'm really hard for me to learn if I'm not actively using it.
Yeah.
We're probably going to do some gameplays that are either fully and openly bilingual, allowing both to just express and be who they are.
Very Puerto Rican.
Or we're going to do things like Azul or Cockroach Poker, beginning level games where Jan patiently, before the game, teaches me everything I need to know to operate the systems.
Rojo.
Yes.
Azul.
Yes.
Amarillo.
And so there'll be this journey, in a way, this dichotomy of me still being a co-host on your show and your channel, but in a way that puts me almost in an uncomfortable position. It is a student's position. Someone that's trying to learn and explore and understand not only the language, but the culture and the way you're expressing yourself on Qüackalope.
And that idea of learning, I think, is going to be a pivotal portion of the channel. The
Open
idea
up a
that we can
conversation.
have conversations, that we can start expanding the level of
exciting.
culture and diversity that we have here is going to be great. Another really
You're so
important
excited.
section-
This wasn't the video.
Well, sure. I'm just saying, I have to bring in the
This
liveliness.
wasn't the Quackalope announcement
I'll
video.
just mention one more. Another one, and this is one that I've been talking with my best friend from all my life. Yes, Jesse, you're also a best friend, but Margarita.
Listen, I'm not going to compete with Margarita.
Maria Margarita Rivera. We've been talking. She's been very excited about this. And one of the things that she believes very wholeheartedly, and I completely agree with her, is how do we bridge the gap with families in Latin America, right? Like that person in Puerto Rico, that family in Puerto Rico, or that individual in Puerto Rico that is having difficulty convincing their family members as to how this works, what to do, making content that is specialized around the idea of transitioning people into this hobby, and then choosing pinpoint accuracy games that we know can 100% either relate to the cultural reality of those individuals, or just mechanics that make sense, or things that are accessible and fun, or that even equate to some of the more popularized games that exist that are tabletop adjacent, like dominoes, for example, is very popular in Puerto Rico.
Sure.
So things like that we can start creating a rule set or a guide that
Or
people can use.
Even
to
that identification that, like, dominoes is popular. So then what's the bridge from there? What are the intro games that are already in the household that have a natural growth? Because we know them in the States. We don't really know them in the rest of the world.
So that's going to be the hope for Qüackalope. I think I've already taken over this too much.
Here's the concern. Here's the thing I know some of you are already thinking. Well, if you're doing all of this on a secondary channel, how are we going to maintain and do what we want to do here on the main channel? Well, there's two parts of that conversation. The first part is us combined allows us to be way more proficient and produce way more content across the board. The space facilitates that. We have an actual studio space, not my bedroom. Along with that, the content that we'll be producing on both channels will have cross-pollination to some degree, which means, it'll be a little bit easier. It won't be unique stuff on each one. And the degree of editing we're going to be doing on Qüackalope will probably not be quite as substantial. It's going to be more?
No, it's going to be much
Because you
less.
said no, and I was like, are you disagreeing with me? I don't believe it's going to be as substantial of a lift initially. It'll still be just as high quality.
Yep.
But, we'll be negotiating that. Let's talk about this channel.
Yes.
What's happening on this channel specifically? We got a lot of stuff we're working on.
Oh, yes,
we got a lot of stuff we're excited about. Reviews. Our single biggest requested thing here on Qüackalope, because y'all love our review series, you love our Right For You, Wrong For You series, which we invented together. You even have enjoyed Confirmation Bias.
A lot of people have.
To a degree. There's a group of it. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't quite...
Can we explain what it is a quick second? Like
Confirmation bias, the whole concept of it is two extremes of a conversation.
Intentionally.
This is the best game that has ever existed. This is the worst game that has ever existed.
Yep.
And then we have an actual conversation about it. But I understand. The nuance and the way that I title and structure those still is being refined, I promise you. What we don't want to do with any of the content we create is hurt people. And so we're fine-tuning that.
correct.
We together can do reviews. On myself can't. I really, and I might overthink this to a degree, but I'm very cautious about saying things that are wrong or inconsistent or don't line up with. And so if I don't have someone to play a game with multiple times, or I don't have the opportunity to play a game multiple times with a different game group, and then sit down and script and write and analyze and cross-check, it becomes just a brick wall in front of me. But if we sit down and have a conversation about right for you, wrong for you, with our two divergent ways of life, I mean, we're so different individuals.
I'm going to crush your confirmation bias.
I hear you.
Whatever side I take, I'm going to bring in the facts.
If we're able to do that together, we're hoping to get to a point where we have consistent weekly reviews on all of the main series and types of review content we have. Along with that, this channel's done a lot of Kickstarter stuff over the last year. That has been great. It's been a great way to cover brand new games. It is exciting to get those titles in. It has allowed us to continue growing the channel. And we've been able to do some contracts with it, which has helped stabilize me this last year because, like I said, as of March, I lost my entire career. We, hopefully with the help of the Patreon, the stability that we're relying on from you, the community, we are hoping at this point right now we can be in a position where Kickstarter coverage is still a part of this channel.
Sure, it'll always be
an integral part of this channel, but we'll be able to do two unique things. We'll, one, be able to identify and focus on lifting up as many different voices, even on crowdfunding platforms, as possible, something that we both have a passion for.
Yeah.
We're talking international titles, scrappy indie publishers, and yes, still the main heavy hitters, because I just believe we produce some of the best content in this space around those games, and y'all enjoy that. But also, something you and I have wanted to do since the very beginning, since we started hanging out, is just cover games. Yeah. Historical games, classic games, the top 100 list on BGG. Euros! I play Euros!
Are you sure, Jesse?
I really
don't think I believe you.
I like them! And we haven't been able to. And now we will.
Yeah.
Which is so exciting. Beyond that, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Was there anything else on the main channel we wanted to list off? I have this whole convenient thing here, but if I'm going to be honest, I can't read my handwriting.
Jesse, this is why we plan in advance.
We did plan in advance.
So that we can be focused, laser focused on...
We talked about it. Yeah. Well, you have a passion for international titles.
Yes, I do.
Let's talk about that. I have a passion for indies.
Yeah.
I think I've shared that with the audience. I mean, moving forward on Quackalope, one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit over the last year, we're really just rehashing conversations you and I have been having for about a year, and we're finally sharing it with you all, the audience. As we grow, it becomes harder for indie publishers to get onto our channel. It has to. It takes time, resources, and the audience that's going to be supporting the things that we talk about is bigger. We have a responsibility to you, the audience, to bring you the best quality games we can, and I guarantee you, we will not cover a game that we don't know the audience for or we're not willing to stand by.
Correct.
And we won't cover a game in any way that deceives you, the audience, on what it is you're getting. Now, your experience may be different than mine, depending on if you like flavor text or if you don't, but that's our cornerstone. As we grow, as we hit 30, 35, 50,000 subscribers over the next year, which pace-wise is realistic,
hopefully,
we fully intend on focusing and figuring out how to keep that door open.
And one of the ways that we're planning on doing that is by bringing in a completely new format that I don't know how frequent we will be able to do it, but it's going to be really special when we do actually publish it, which is called To The Mesa. So, To The Mesa, I think we actually already talked about this.
We did a little bit.
Yeah, but
we don't have to dive in too much.
Yeah, so To The Mesa is going to be our showcase on international titles that we believe deserve either more attention or just deserve to be brought in stateside.
And this is something that you're passionate about.
Oh, I love
because
it.
International for us is outside of the United States. We know that's not international for other people, but the concept behind this is there's other marketplaces and regions and games that proliferate over here into the country. And Jan, your hobby for a while has been discovering, going on to, back-end Chinese websites, hiring people to buy games for you at side marketplaces and ship them overseas. I try to do it myself,
but yeah.
So we are going to, as often as we can, highlight and celebrate cool indie titles that exist not in our region.
From everywhere.
Along with that, from my side of things, I'd like to make sure the door is left open for indie publishers. Meaning that sponsored content and paid content, I'd like to be able to have Patreon sponsor some of the indie games that we cover. Meaning your dollars directly go to giving a voice and a platform to some people that are just trying to make it work in this space, in a space that is scrappy and brutal and hard enough to exist in general. We're going to figure out an official way to allow you all to vote and negotiate and bring titles to us. But please know, if you're a Patreon member and you or multiple of you bring me an indie publisher, the odds of me getting them on this channel are so, so, so high. Because I really believe in you, the community, and I believe in your tastes and what you do. Alongside with that, I forgot where I was going there.
In summary, what we're doing for the channel is going to be the following. We are starting off a brand new Spanish channel titled Qüackalope. We're going to be doing much more content on just games overall that are not necessarily in the hotness or on Kickstarter. Yeah. We're going to be bringing you more reviews more often with more disparaging opinions and just more depth overall.
I was going to say, alongside of that, we've started collaborating with a variety of other publishers and industry leaders and individuals who are helping mentor and bring up new voices in this space.
Yep.
Probably the biggest name that I can mention is, I just recently played a game with Eric Lang, and he's currently coaching, and in his new role, he's currently coaching and working with a bunch of indie designers. And so him and I had a conversation about the fact that Quackalope, as far as I'm concerned, is an open door to anyone he brings me. Because he's not going to walk in with a game that's not finished and good and worth celebrating. So if you're a publisher, designer, producer, content creator out there, please know, reach out to us. We're doing our very best to seek out and have conversations with individuals, but our door and email and phone number is readily available. If you want to start a conversation and help bring some light to different parts of our hobby, we would love and desperately are seeking to have those conversations with you.
So with all that said,
let's move on to...
Let's go on to Patreon now.
The Patreon stuff. Like we said at the very beginning, this was supposed to be a quick 8 to 10 minute video. When does that ever happen on this channel?
Not on Quackalope, but definitely on Quackalope. Stay tuned.
Here's the nice thing. The people that are watching right now, I mean, y'all are it. Y'all are our fan base. Y'all are our friends. Y'all are our community. I've got into the habit and the phraseology and the structure. I really believe in language and how I use it.
Yep.
And I never use language when it doesn't feel true and genuine. And I've had a lot of interactions with people in our community over on the Patreon. I think some of them have noticed me using this phrase. I don't typically say, thank you for being a part of our community. The reality is, we're a part of yours. And so, for those of you that are still watching right now, thank you for allowing us to be a part of your community. I'm blessed and honored and grateful every single day that I have you standing right behind my back. And I cannot wait for this crazy world we live in to open up to the point where we can start connecting and hanging out and doing what we're all here to do. Play some freaking board games together. Patreon. This is a hard Patreon push. Let's talk about levels. Let's then sign off. We've got a live stream happening this evening.
We got to get ready for that.
Come hang out, ask us questions. We'll have a party. $5. Yeah. $5 is the base minimum where you get most of the stuff. There's a $1 pledge level, but we're not focusing on that.
Sure.
$5. If you swing over and you do $5 a month over on Patreon, we're going to be doing campaign games. You'll see some of those videos come out here on YouTube with an indication pointing towards Patreon.
Yep.
Patreon's going to be the unscripted, uncut, unedited. No, that's a lie. Patreon's going to be the unscripted, uncut, still edited production version of those campaigns. And in a game like Kingdom Death, which is going to be a campaign we go through, finally, there's already Prologue 1 over there, I promise. You can go watch it right now and see our model. The concept is this. Most people on YouTube are not going to watch 30 episodes of any campaign game.
Not even close.
But 200 or 500 individuals are willing to put $5 behind a channel that is producing that.
Yeah.
I know that because I am and was such a big fan of Kingdom Death. I paid one service on Patreon, $10 a month, to call me when they updated their store. So I know people are willing to pay for content. For us to justify and do that long-form content, we need the backing of you.
Yep.
So we're going to be bringing highlights and best moments to YouTube. The first white lion hunt, the first phoenix hunt, the first time we showdown against the king when it finally gets here with the gambler chest.
Yep.
But everything else, the story, the event, anything that isn't
the in-between,
the best, we're going to be bringing over there on the Patreon. For those of you that want to be part of the story, the narrative, and watch the whole season. For those of you that just want to tune in for a highlight or two,
It's going to be on the channel.
They'll be here as well.
So the next level.
$10.
$10. So we talk all the time about inviting.
We should probably let people know, Patreon is a month-to-month subscription service. You go sign on, you get access to not only our Discord community, direct access to us, but also a plethora of already released content and future content.
Yeah.
We have 93 unique and exclusive posts over there with something like 15 or more gameplays, exclusive podcasts, some reviews, some conversations. And so Patreon is a month-to-month service. We should have said this at the beginning, but I believe we'll also have a PayPal link down below if you just want to do a one-time donation to support us as a channel, and you're not comfortable with Patreon as a platform, or you're not interested in signing up to something that's reoccurring. Now, you can cancel Patreon at any time you would like, and if you have any trouble or you want to have a conversation with us about the use of the platform and how it'll actually cycle and make those payments, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer any of those questions. $10.
$10. So we talk all the time about inviting you to be part of our gameplays, that you feel that you're part of that experience. You're sitting at the table with us. Well, the $10 pledge is actually going to be able to give you access to making votes and determining what decisions we take and what games we play and
we'll get
what
to
we do.
Integral moments of some of these campaigns or some of these things that we're doing for Patreon that has a little bit of cross-pollination onto the main channel. And we'll let you, the community, decide. I mean, who do we hunt next? Or, who do we add to our settlement? There's a lot of things. It's not all going to be Kingdom Death, but Kingdom Death is the most direct example I have of something that I know people have been asking
100%.
for. $20 a month. Do you want to hang out with us? I mean, play some games or just have a 4-hour window to ask us questions, chat, spend some time together. $20 a month is going to guarantee that every single month. We're going to choose a day, probably 3 or 4 weeks in advance. We're going to let you know. We're going to block it off personally. And we're just going to cordon off a time to play a game with you. Play video games or board games, hop on TTS, jump onto a Skype call, play test. It'll be different things depending on what the community is looking for, with the main goal just being a moment for us to connect. We may end up doing multiple of these depending on our audience base. Right now we have a lot of people that are Europe and Australia based, and we have a lot of people that are stateside. In our Discord community, I oftentimes will switch my time zones and play games in different regions so that we can accommodate that. That is on our mind. We are paying attention to it. We will make sure the vast majority, if not all of you, have an opportunity to spend time with us. Even if it's the one person that got left out of the group meeting we had, I'll give you my phone number. We can talk for an hour or something. We just hang out. We can talk about board games, talk about your hobby, whatever it is. $50. This was just added.
This is a really interesting one. So I'm not sure if you've ever noticed.
Popular demand. Popular demand. I did not come up with this. We did a Patreon update for our community 2 or 3 days ago, or 1 day ago, whatever it was. And I had a few people say that they wanted this, and so I gave it to them.
Bring the cup. Show the cup. No, not that cup. The other cup.
So
that's not the cup you use.
I have a series of cups that, I usually am sitting on camera drinking bourbon. Yeah.
Lots of bourbon.
I like bourbon.
However, we have a lot of people that kind of worry about you and are curious to see if you ever drink anything else.
Not worried. I had a few fans specifically say, hey, let us do $50 a month and let us sponsor a glass of water.
Or any other type of liquids.
I extended that to this. $50 a month. If you hate Quackalope, you can swing in there and ask me to drink straight pickle juice for an episode. Sponsored and thanked to you specifically. By name, I promise. You can ask me to drink beef broth or have me have a nice glass of bourbon, maybe a milkshake, a smoothie, all of Thanksgiving dinner blended into one pot.
What are you doing? Why are you giving them ideas?
Well, because I think someone's going to do it.
Let me be clear. This is not the goose is drinking this. It's only the Quackalope. Only the Quackalope is drinking this.
I think this is funny. You not only get all these pledge levels give you, well, most of these pledge levels give you everything below them. But this one specifically is really there for this. I will drink whatever you ask.
That's consumable.
It has to be consumable. It has to be food. I will drink whatever you ask during a video. I might even let you negotiate what video it is during a video, and I will publicly thank you for sponsoring it by name. And I promise this as well. I'll have a smile on my face while I do so. So if you don't like Quackalope, here's your chance to get back. If you do like Quackalope, please let me drink more bourbon. Just let me do that.
The next tier that we have.
Also
It's unfortunately all sold out. Yes,
we did our push on Patreon before we did our push publicly because I wanted to give them access to this tier before anyone else.
Because it's a special one.
So right now we have 4 slots open. We may extend that at a later date. We are figuring out ways to make it as fair as possible for people who want to upgrade if someone does drop, because people do rotate depending on their finances. This is a $100 tier where you get everything down below, including the drink thing. But you also get sent pledge manager credits. You get sent copies of games. We get a lot of stuff in.
Yes, we do.
We also have a lot of stuff personally.
Yep.
And so we make sure that we basically pay you back value for value. That's at least the goal for that pledge level. It's $100 a month. Like I said, there's only 4 slots right now because it's all we can responsibly guarantee at the moment. But moving in the future, we may extend it, we may increase it. I know a few people already have their name on the list.
And what are some examples of games that we've given out?
We've given out full gameplay all in for ISS Vanguard.
Okay.
We've given out pledge credit. I mean, we've given out full entire collections of Root. I personally have mailed out games like Pipeline, Tapestry. I don't think I sent a Wingspan out. Just a lot of stuff.
A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. Mythic's probably going to send some stuff from us. Lucky Duck has offered to full pledges for 4 individuals for Mission Catastrophe. For publishers, games are fairly cheap. Not really cheap, but fairly cheap. There's usually a 5 times margin on it because they have to go through retail and distribution, and there's things that chip away. So when we're working with a publisher and we're working on a Kickstarter or covering a game or they ship us something, we have the opportunity to either give that out to our community or ask them when we're covering a title, hey, we've got some incredible Patreon members. Would you be willing to toss them a pledge or give them some credit in the PM?
And it has happened in the past, so we're going to continue.
Right now, it's all sold out. If you're interested in this pledge level, let us know. We're sort of starting to keep a little bit of a tally note list of who's in line. I'm not sure the fairest way to make sure those slots are open. It may be first come, first serve. It may be based off of tier or a die rolling system or something. But just let us know if that's something you're interested in. There's 2 slots of the level above.
Yeah.
Now, we're getting kind of extreme here, and I don't necessarily expect these places to be filled.
No, not really.
But we might as well have them open for
why not?
The individual that wants to utilize them. $250 a month will get you everything down below, including the added credit and games that we can send you. And our best attempt at helping you break even. Genuinely, that's kind of my goal. Like, in the back of my mind, my theory is if you're investing that much in us,
for providing value, we give you value back
as much as I'm able to. But along with that,
the special thing about this one,
you get to sponsor a video a month. Now, what does this mean? This is not a publisher slot. Meaning that if a publisher signs up for this slot and they ask us to cover their title, we'll have to have a different conversation. Appreciate the love and support. Publishers can sign up for the slot if they're requesting something personal that's from another publisher. Like, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Here's my thought process around this. Why not give you, the audience, a bit of agency? If you have a favorite game, if you have something that you believe in us covering, if you have just something that you've always wanted to see a channel do,
and you just can't,
hop onto that slot, sponsor a video. We'll give you direct credit. If you have a company like Beards and Board Games, like the Beard Balm store, I'm even open to them sponsoring a video, as long as it's not a publisher and their own game.
Sure.
This lets you determine a video we take very seriously, and we do. Along with that, if you hate us, have us talk about ducks for 30 minutes. I'm okay with that.
There's this one game that I played at Labyrinth one time where you are spinning a wheel and then wearing princess attire.
I'm okay with that.
I think that should be the first one. Like, if anybody gets it, it should be the princess game.
This is community sponsorship. And I'm also not opposed to 5 of you or 10 of you, let's say a board game store, saying, hey, we're going to collectively sponsor a video a month. I'm just saying, there's a lot of opportunities here. It doesn't have to be just you doing that. Our final thing. This is the
one that's out there. There's no way. No way.
$1,000 a month. Here's the reason why this exists. I come from the commercial and professional videography world. I grew up in the wedding industry. This is actually fairly cheap for the services that in that industry, coaching and photography advice gives you.
Yeah.
If you want to have developers on your game, if you want advice around building and promoting a channel, if you want marketing tips, you want to learn how to be a photographer, you want to build a business, talk about entrepreneurship, if you want, art design, graphics, like...
I'm an art director and project manager in my real job, so I would be bringing that experience into this opportunity as well.
And so this is coaching. This is direct access to us, guaranteed private conversation and meeting 2 times a month, and as much help and support as I can reasonably give you. I do want to make sure I put a big blanket over top of this. If you're an indie designer that doesn't already have enough budget for your art, if you're a fan that just wants to have a conversation with us desperately, if you're a photographer that has never booked a single contract, unless you just have money to spend and you're willing to invest, I advise people spend their money as responsibly as possible. And if you show up on this and what we're able to offer you can't give you a return on investment, I will tell you to leave and I'll refund your bill.
100%.
Because I don't believe in not adding value. I do not, across the board. I don't care. I think this service could be valuable to the right group, to the right individuals. I'm good at what I do, and you're damn good at what you do. So
I try.
So it's there. It's there for a certain group of people that may or may not show up.
Hey,
but
we'll
if one of you
happens.
are watching, and if we can be of service and we can genuinely help you, I'd love to.
I'm going to be right here.
And you'd be directly supporting what we do. So
and there's one last thing, Jesse, that we have to talk about.
What's that?
500. It's a special number.
Oh, I should have done this at the beginning of the video. Why didn't I talk about this at the beginning of the video?
I don't know why you didn't.
This is dumb of me. I have it at the very top of this list so that, all right, back at the very beginning, when I first wrote the descriptions for this, at 500 supporters on Patreon, this was the biggest goal I had.
Yep.
We actually need to update with like 750 and 1,000.
Yeah.
At 500 supporters, the most mind-blowing idea, and we're only 200 away from that, I wrote, we get a studio space, or I get a studio space, it was just me at the time, dedicated studio space. Well, we did that early. And at the very bottom of that, you can check it right now, I get a new tattoo. If you're here at this part, you're still watching at this part, that's worth $1 or $5. We cross 500, I'm going to let the Patreon community choose what new tattoo I get, and I will vlog going and getting that tattoo.
Oh, I'll be filming all of it. All of it.
And so there's a conversation. Do you want me to have a board game tattoo?
Some Quackalope
abomination
tattoo?
of a Quackalope? Would you like honk or a goose? I'm open to it. I love the tattoos I have. I'll do a video sometime talking about their role that they've played in my life.
Sure.
But I have no fear of documenting and marking a moment like this on me forever. It's worth remembering. So why not allow you all to be part of it? I love the idea.
And Jesse, I think
That's a video.
I think that's it.
How long was that? That was a 49-minute video.
Oh my. Okay, so nobody's gonna jump on Patreon then. I guess. Well, failed push. I guess. Oh well. What can we do?
Well,
Too much. Too much.
Retake it.
Yeah, let's start from the top.
Start from the top. Hello, welcome
Hey.
to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.